Today I want to answer the question, why is my unfaithful spouse so angry? I mean, it's a common question that I receive. I've even had unfaithful spouses ask me, why do I get so angry? I don't understand why I lash out at my spouse. Why do I respond with such intensity or anger when they ask me questions about details or my affair, or they want to talk or discuss it? So today I want to unpack a little bit of the reasoning behind the anger that you so frequently see from an unfaithful spouse. One of the reasons that you experience so much anger from the unfaithful spouse is because they are struggling with shame. Now, I'll give you just a couple of good lessons about shame. Shame makes everything about me, not my victim, or in this case, my betrayed spouse. When my shame is triggered, I struggle as an unfaithful spouse because shame says I am bad, guilt says I've done something bad. When shame starts to operate in the unfaithful spouse's mind, it triggers an incredible amount of anger because a lot of times they're angry at themselves. They're angry for what they've done, they're angry for what they've allowed themselves to do. They're angry because when they have to talk about the details of the affair, they start to get angry and frustrated because they're uncomfortable. Let's face it, who wants to talk about things that make you feel uncomfortable or ashamed or embarrassed? We don't want to talk about that. See, shame creates an incredible amount of self-pity in the unfaithful spouse's mind. We feel self-pity because that masks us from having to talk about feelings of inadequacy or self-hatred or anger. We'd rather feel sorry about ourselves and what we've done or what our consequences have cost us than show true empathy for what our choices have done to you, the betrayed spouse. You see, self-pity protects ourselves. It also kind of taps into this self-loathing, which is an excuse, because if I'm such a bad person, then why wouldn't I cheat? Oh, I'm so bad, I'm so terrible, I'm such a bad person. But the dysfunction of that is, so why be surprised that I would cheat? Why be surprised that I would do these things because I'm such a bad person anyway? You see, it detracts and takes away from true empathy and remorse and humility and a true concern for my victim, a true concern for the person that I've hurt the most. See, I'm focusing all about me because I'm allowing my shame to be triggered, and now I'm wallowing in my own issues, and it makes everything about me rather than about my betrayed spouse. Now, if you study shame, you will eventually do a word study on shame, and you will find out that shame comes from the same root word in the Greek as disfigure. So when we're struggling with shame, when we've allowed shame to operate in our lives, it really brings about a disfiguring. And so our marriages become disfigured. Our self-identity or our self-esteem, if you will, becomes disfigured. We have disfigured marriages, disfigured fights. We have disfigured understanding of what our choices have done and why the affair has even happened. You see, we also, when we struggle with shame or when we actually give way to intense anger, we get very defensive. Now, defensiveness is really just a blame game, because when we get defensive, we're actually blaming our betrayed spouse for what we've done. We are rationalizing it, justifying it, and we get really defensive and we get really angry because we are struggling in our own world of how to justify our affair to ourselves first and then to you. You see, we've had to justify our affair or our affairs or our addiction to ourselves a million times before we've ever had to justify it to you. So when we tap into this moment where you want to talk and we start to justify it, listen, we are so self-deceived. We've been doing this for months or weeks or years. So it just rolls off our tongue. And then you press forward as a betrayed spouse and you want to talk and you want to get to the deeper parts. And our anger is the easiest thing to do, because anger typically is a secondary emotion. Anger really is masking the self-hatred, the self-pity, the shame that we're feeling. So when your unfaithful spouse is walking in this perpetual anger and you inevitably come to the moment where you go, wait a minute, I'm I'm the one that was cheated on, but yet he's the one that's so angry. It's probably because they're dealing with their own self-war of shame and self-pity.